This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics and explore the topics of current interest that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Dr. Natwar Gandhi. He's the Chief Financial Officer for the District of Columbia. He manages the district's financial operations. He will be discussing the topics of District of Columbia financial operations and district's economy. Thank you very much, Dr. Gandhi, for coming. I appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me about your job. What does it mean to be independent Chief Financial Officer? How did that differ from any other CFO? I underline the word independent.
And that is indeed the right emphasis. The mid-90s, District of Columbia was near bankruptcy. Nearly insolvent. We had lost our bond ratings, lost our access to the Wall Street to borrow money. At that time, Congress, which has the constitutional duty to manage a city, took over the city's finances, appointed an independent chief financial officer, independent of the mayor, independent of the council, and put all of the city's finances and all its about 1,200 personnel, financial personnel, under the office of the chief financial officer.
So you report to who?
Basically, I work closely with the mayor.
Okay.
Work closely with council, with the people, the staff of both executive and legislative agencies, report to Congress, work closely with the White House, but nevertheless, it's an independent office, not reporting to any elected representative.
In order to ensure the integrity of the operations.
Absolutely right, and it has a 5-year tenure. Mayor has a 4-year tenure.
And you have 5.
Mayor, the independent chief financial officer has 5. Mayor appoints the CFO. Council confirms the CFO. Yet, mayor cannot fire the CFO without a cause. Has to have 2/3 of the majority of the council in that decision. And the decision has to wait in the Congress for 30 days.
Wow.
So, by any measure, this is the most independent chief financial officer in the country. As I pointed out, all our financial affairs, financial decisions are within the office of the chief financial officer. So we estimate revenues for the city, we collect taxes for the city, we put together mayor's budget, we do borrowing, treasury operation, comptrollership, even lottery.
So you do what it takes to run a smooth operations.
Absolutely right.
Well, you touched upon a little bit about the bond. You created a new type of municipal bond for the district last year, backed by income tax revenues. What were the advantages of doing that?
Right. As I pointed out, mid-90s, city had lost its access to the capital markets, Wall Street. Our bonds were rated junk bonds. So it is extremely important for us to regain the viability and credibility on Wall Street. So our so-called general obligation bonds, meaning all of district's revenue streams are responsible to pay off our debt services, those bonds are rated at A+ now. However, Virginia and Maryland are AAA rated.
You got it.
I envy them. So what we have now issued are the bonds known as the income tax bonds. That is to say, those bonds are supported by our income tax revenues, and those bonds are rated AAA by Standard & Poor's. So we are very proud of that.
So I'm going to have to go buy some. Is this
I strongly encourage that.
Is this a tax exempt for the residents of District of Columbia?
Right, and also basically gives you variety of features of tax exemption.
Very good. You alluded to Wall Street a couple of minutes ago. How do you think Wall Street's impression of the district had changed over the past decade, and how was that benefited the district?
I think over the last 10 years, we simply changed dramatically the perception of the Wall Street for the district. 10 years ago, as I pointed out again, we were rated junk bonds. Today, our income tax bonds are rated AAA. We are a welcome presence on Wall Street. Recently, we were awarded one of the 5 top bond issuance on Wall Street by a magazine called Bond Buyer, which is kind of a Bible for all of us in the financial market. And our bonds are hotly sought, stable investment, good investment for all the people out there who have interest in investing in municipal finances.
Obviously, you made a great sale pitch to me, so I hope the audience will understand it and go buy some bonds for the District of Columbia. It'll be a wonderful thing to do to help Dr. Gandhi as well as to help the district where we reside. Well, we talk a little bit of Wall Street. There's a lot of bashing from the Main Street to Wall Street. Even the president made a comments to be saying several times about fat cat. But what do you think of all this?
Well, I think, as you know, 2 years ago, financial situation for the country as a whole was in dire straits. We were facing another Great Depression. I think what has happened through a very aggressive efforts on the part of the Federal Reserve, on the part of the federal government, Mr. Bush, Mr. Obama, and the Treasury Secretaries, we avoided the precipice, the recurring of the Great Depression. Nevertheless, major financial institutions, brokerage houses, investment banking operations, they were in terrible shape. Had it not been for the aggressive federal intervention.
You're talking about a stimulus bill?
No, I'm talking about the 787 so-called TARP bill.
Yeah, I got you.
Had that not been the case, I think we would have been in dire shape today. Because of that intensive, aggressive federal efforts, our financial system is back in stability. And as you know, as you pointed out, those so-called fat cats started making money again, started giving themselves bonuses, and obviously that does not sit well with the Main Street, where people are still hurting. We have high unemployment, and that sort of excesses are not welcome.
Now, we talked a little bit about the recession, as you said about a minute ago. The nation and the world are still expecting a severe recession. How is the District of Columbia's economy faring in the current economic environment? Are you doing well?
Relatively speaking, we are doing very well. The primary reason for that is that the federal government, which is the big stabilizing forces for us, please remember that 1/3 of our workforce works in government, federal government, local government. About 8 to 9% in health, another 8 to 9% in education. So large chunk of the district's employment base is occupied and employed in the sectors, government, health, education. They are either stable or growing. So when you compare with other states and other municipalities, we are relatively doing better.
But in all sense?
Well, I think obviously we are hurting like everybody else.
Yes.
No doubt about that. I have removed something like $600 million from the revenues in 2009, about $1 billion in 2010, $1.2 billion for 2011, and $1.3 billion for 2012.
So you control the spending.
So we are, mayor and council have taken a very aggressive step to balance our budgets. And let me brag, just this week we're going to announce our 13th consecutively balanced budget.
Wow.
with surplus.
Very nice. So how does the district's economy compare to its neighbors? You know, we live close to Maryland and Virginia.
Well, as I just pointed out, in these times of recession, great financial troubles, Because of the federal government, we are doing quite well, relatively speaking, I should say, with Maryland and Virginia. But district does have fundamental problems. You know, we have a large commuting population that does not pay our taxes, particularly every...
So basically the people who work in
district
but live in Maryland and Virginia.
That is right. So it's like saying that you go to a restaurant and all people who are eating there, we would say of these, 2/3 of the people who eat here do not pay, but 1/3 will pay, and everyone will complain about bad food and bad service. That's precisely happening because we have $66 of every 100 that are earned in the district are taxed in Maryland and Virginia. We get to tax only $34. Further, roughly 40% of our real property values are exempt because of the federal government, universities, embassies, etc. I used to have an office on an 11th floor of the Judiciary Square building of the City Hall. I look outside, wonderful venue, museums, galleries, monuments, nothing I could tax. No jurisdiction can survive like that.
That's not a good news.
Well, it is a difficult situation, but what I promise you is that district, despite all its limitation, we will balance our budget because...
Despite all the enormous obstacles and challenges that you face.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. And that is the commitment that Chief Financial Officer has made to the mayor, to the council, to the Congress, and to the citizens of the District of Columbia.
So how do you encourage the people to, from Maryland and Virginia, the surrounding state, to come and reside in District of Columbia?
Well, I think
what kind of incentive do you give it to them?
So right. I think that is a fundamental change in the perception of the district in the minds of people around the country and around the region. You know, about 1980 or so, we were known as the murder capital of the world.
True.
That is all changed.
Things have improved.
Public safety, public education, public works, in all these three areas, we have fundamental changes. And now, for the first time, you know, the population is coming back to the district, and we are almost approaching 600,000 people. That is remarkable.
It is remarkable. So that's a significant increase from the...
Right. We were losing population every year over the last several years, last 2 decades. Now people are coming back to the city.
So you're attracting the people who come to Washington, D.C. because you're saying there's a lot more safety, there's a lot more less crimes, there's a lot of things to do over here.
Better schools.
Better school system over here, better in Montgomery County and Fairfax because they kind of touted they got the best system in the world.
And listen, I have nothing against them.
You're not here to compare.
No. They are world-class jurisdiction, very proud of them, but district is better. We are where the action is. You know, transportation is a major issue.
Yes.
Commuting and spending an hour each way, people think it's better to do than commute. They would rather live near to where they work, in the city. And, you know, if you like theaters, restaurants, shops, city is the place to be.
Museums.
Museums, monuments. Free museums, absolutely right.
You don't have to worry about paying that.
That is correct.
And this is the only place in the world that has such a remarkable museums, and it's many museums, all kinds of museums, and you don't have to pay a penny for that.
And these are world-class museums.
Oh, no question about it.
Smithsonian galleries, and wonderful.
So tell me a little bit about so district's economy is doing well. You're trying to encourage people to come to the district. You're collecting the revenue. Things are really moving forward as you envision or you planned several years ago.
Right, and I think you know, under the leadership of Anthony Williams, the mayor,
the previous mayor,
city made big strides, and then the present mayor, Adrian Fenty, young, energetic,
sense of optimism,
great optimism, and I think we are you know, very pleased with this leadership. The council is very responsible and very responsive, and all of us in the city are financially, you know, very fiscally prudent, responsible, And I think that all shows in our ability to manage our finances right, balance our budget, and increase our credibility on Wall Street.
And you have done a wonderful job.
Well, great credit goes to our mayor, our council, and they have been very supportive of this independent office.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very, very much,
Thank you for inviting me.
I really appreciate that very much. And
sure.
People like you, which Dr. Gandhi is a source of inspiration to all of us. He's doing a great job. He's managing the financial operation District of Columbia very, very well. Thank you very much for coming over here.
Thank you, sir.
That is our show. Until the next time, this is Frank Islam of FY Investment Group wishing you a great week. Thank you very much for watching.